Everyone wants something from you. They come seeking your attention, your access, your certainty, your shelter, or your status. They arrive with rehearsed lines, polished smiles, and hands extended, not to give, but to receive. Their pockets are empty, yet their expectations overflow, brimming with unspoken demands. The exchange is predictable, a transaction dressed in softer names. You give your time, your energy, your resources, and they take, often cloaking their extraction in the language of love, loyalty, or obligation. Your first response is not anger. It must never be anger. Anger clouds judgment and hands them the reins. Instead, your first move is clarity, sharp and unyielding. You stop auditioning for their approval. You cease performing to fit their scripts. No longer do you enter rooms as a beggar, pleading for validation. You stride in as a ledger, your worth tallied in your own terms, your value grounded in your own standards. They prey on those who crave to be liked, those who bend under the weight of pleasing others. But the moment you sever that need, the puppet strings snap. You are no longer theirs to maneuver. You move with deliberate silence, acting without the need to justify every step. You become unreadable, not out of secrecy, but by design, in a world obsessed with control, where people pull strings to make others dance. The one who refuses to be puppeteered becomes a legend. They stare, trying to decipher you. They guess at your motives. They fail to pin you down. Your restraint, your refusal to react on their terms, becomes their confusion. They cannot play a game with someone who has stepped off the board. The frame you set shapes the outcome. If you fail to define the boundaries, others will impose their own, molding you to fit their needs. Set your frame early, set it clearly, and hold it firm. Place standards above emotions, facts above feelings. When they press your emotions to sway you, counter with the clarity of facts. When they lean on guilt to manipulate, redirect them to the scope of what's possible. When they demand your time, respond with the structure of your plan. The one who names the terms of the exchange holds the power to shape its conclusion. Before they even speak, their bodies betray their intentions. Fast steps signal entitlement, as if they're owed your attention. Slow, calculated smiles hint at agendas, carefully crafted to disarm. Eyes that dart, scanning for witnesses, reveal a hunger for status. Eyes that lock onto yours, unwavering, seek leverage to bend you to their will. An overeager smile is a bribe, offered to buy your favor. A soft sigh is a test, probing for your sympathy. A rushed compliment is a hook, baited to reel you in. By their first breath, you've already mapped the transaction, reading their cues like a cartographer charting unfamiliar terrain. They come seeking your certainty, offering only their stories in return, but you outmaneuver them before they utter a word by refusing to be rushed. Pace is your power, panic is their leash. The one who controls the tempo controls the truth. Let the seconds stretch between their questions and your answers. Let the silence grow heavy, pressing them to reveal their hand. Watch their carefully curated masks slip, as the quiet demands evidence of their intent. Predators mistake your stillness for weakness, only to collide with the steel beneath your calm. Your agreements are contracts, binding only when terms are clear. Your refusals are walls, unyielding and final. A yes without defined boundaries breeds entitlement, inviting others to take more than you offer. A no burdened with explanations opens the door to conflict, inviting arguments you don't need. When you agree, spell it out: the scope, the timeline, the standard. When you decline, do so gently but firmly. No is a complete sentence, a fortress that needs no defense. The weak wield tantrums as bargaining chips, but the wise know better than to engage. Not every asker is equal. The flatterer praises to gain, their admiration a tool for acquisition. The martyr bleeds to bind you, their suffering a chain disguised as sacrifice. The ghost appears only when they need you, vanishing when your needs arise. The collector hoards your favors, storing them like ammunition for a future battle. The courtier polishes your image to borrow your influence. The rebel revels in chaos, calling it passion, But the ally rare and invaluable challenges you privately and defends you publicly. Discern them carefully and treat them accordingly. Access to you must be earned. Assign a small, mundane task to test their commitment. Boredom is a sacred filter. It repels the frivolous and ignites the disciplined. Those who thrive in the monotony are the ones who can carry your vision forward. The rest will reveal their true colors without you lifting a finger. Your presence is not a public resource. It is finite, defensible, and valuable, like land. Charge for it in the currency of preparation, patience, and competence. The unprepared must pay with waiting. The impatient must pay with distance. The incompetent must pay with silence. Your calendar is your castle, and entry demands a ritual. Many will balk at the ritual, labeling you cold, but you are not cold. You are calibrated, deliberate in every choice. Guilt will arrive cloaked in tradition, whispering, "After all we've done for you, honor history, but make decisions in the present." Urgency will masquerade as destiny, insisting, "I need this now," but need is not a strategy. Flattery will pose as fate, proclaiming, "Only you can do this. If only you can do it, perhaps it doesn't need doing." Threats will hide behind silence, slammed doors, unanswered messages. Let them try. Their silence only raises the cost of re-entry. You don't argue with masks or chase phantoms. You don't fuel the cycle of outrage. Post your intentions clearly, then vanish without apology. Your attention is a currency. Spend it on signal, not noise. Influence without a trusted inner circle becomes a performance without a foundation, destined for burnout. Guard your inner sanctum. Protect your mornings, your breath, your pace. Your body itself preaches a sermon. Shoulders relaxed, breath steady, eyes unwavering, phone face down. Focus is a blade that cuts through pretense. Listen without rescuing. Care without chasing. Love without leash. Emotional precision is not detachment. It's sovereignty. You feel deeply, but you don't fold. Ask the question that strips away performance. What exactly do you want from me? Poetry dissolves into numbers, ambiguity into clarity. If their request cannot withstand specificity, it doesn't deserve your time. The con thrives in vagueness. You make the air too thin for it to survive. Define your terms. Decline without debate. Detachment isn't cruelty. It's clean love, pruning what harms, refusing to fight battles that don't exist. Mercy without structure breeds chaos, and intimacy without standards erodes trust. You can be generous and untouchable, offering systems instead of endless hours, frameworks instead of free labor. Teach once, document twice, repeat never. When family pulls the lever of guilt, respond with a sentence soft in tone but firm in resolve. "I love you, but I am not available." Repeat it until the storm passes. Blood ties are bonds, not blank checks. You are not a factory for solving every crisis. Your inner circle is small by design. 3 seats only. The strategist for clarity, the craftsman for standards, the confessor for conscience. All others are guests, their access temporary. When loyalty shifts to the chair over the crown, replace the chair. Master the 3 powers. Pace, pause, posture. Pace slows the room until truth emerges. Pause weaves silence until facades crack. Posture reminds your body that time is yours to command. Short sentences are gates. Long explanations are open windows in a storm. Close the windows. Guard the gates. Exit. Early. Cleanly. Without fanfare. No ultimatums. No theatrics. Just the quiet of a closed door. Absence teaches faster than words. Presence is power, and remembrance is eternal. Let your memory become the myth that guards your gates long after you've moved on. You do not argue with masks. You do not fight phantoms. You do not feed the economy of outrage. Post with clarity. Vanish without apology. Attention is a currency. Do not spend it on noise. Influence without an inner court becomes theater without a backstage. Burnout is guaranteed. Guard the backstage. Guard the morning. Guard the breath that decides pace. The body is a sermon. shoulders relaxed, breath unhurried, eyes steady, phone face down. Focus is a sword that cuts performance out of people. You listen without rescuing. You care without chasing. You love without leash. Emotional precision is not numbness. It is sovereignty. You feel, but you do not fold. Ask the question that melts, acting into truth. What exactly do you want from me? Poetry turns to numbers. Fog turns to figures. If the request cannot survive specificity, it does not deserve oxygen. The con lives in the vague. You make the air thin. You define, you decline, you do not debate with haze. Detachment is not cruelty. Detachment is clean love. You remove what corrodes. You prune what repeats harm. You refuse to be drafted into wars that do not exist. Mercy without order breeds chaos. So does intimacy without standards. You can be generous and untouchable at once. You give systems, not endless seconds. You share frameworks, not free labor. Teach once, document twice, repeat never. Family will pull the oldest lever, guilt. You answer with a sentence that is soft in tone and steel, in meaning. I love you. I am not available. Repeat until the weather changes. Blood is not a blank check. It is a bond with boundaries. You are not a solution factory for every siren. Your inner court is deliberate. 3 seats only, the strategist for clarity, the craftsman for standards, the confessor for conscience. Everyone else is a guest, with a day pass. When a counselor starts loving the chair more than your crown, you change the chair. Loyalty is measured in the season of no. Practice the 3 powers. Peace, pause, posture. Peace slows the room until truth appears. Pause adds silence until performance cracks. Posture reminds your body that time belongs to you. Short sentences are gates. Long explanations are open windows in a storm. Close the windows, guard the gates. You exit early, cleanly, without prophecy, no ultimatums, no fireworks, just the sudden quiet of a closed door. Absence teaches faster than lectures. Presence is power. Remembrance is permanent. Let memory become the myth that guards the gate after you are gone. They will learn to adjust, or they will leave. They will call your clarity cruelty because confusion used to control you. They will call your discipline arrogance because your availability used to be their entitlement. Let them speak. You will live the results. Over time, the orbit changes. Fewer peacocks, more eagles, less spectacle, more shelter, less noise, more signal. You do not chase closure. You let misunderstandings live without your oxygen. You do not sprint because someone shouted fire. You evaluate the smoke, trace the wiring, and flip the correct breaker. Precision over the always. Predictability built on principle is a weapon. Predictability built on people-pleasing is a leash. In negotiation, you do not counter demand with demand. You counter demand with definition. What does done look like? What is the date? What is the budget? What happens if we miss? Vagueness is a climate for Kamen. Make the air thin. If presented a false choice, create a third path. You tilt the board, and gravity moves the pieces for you. Intimacy is not access. Warmth is not a warrant. Attraction without discipline is an uprising in your palace. You do not romance rebels and pray they become citizens. You require oaths, not vibes. You are gentle, not gullible. You are kind, not captured. Your love is a vault. Most never find the keyhole. Everyone wants something from you that will never change. What changes is your economy. You stop paying with pieces of yourself. You start charging with standards. You invoice insecurity with waiting. You tax manipulation with distance. You subsidize excellence with excess. You do not hate their wanting. You simply price it. Carry phrases that end games. That doesn't work for me. Email me the specifics. I'll decide after I see the plan. Not now. That's outside my scope. Each sentence is a gate. Each gate requires a key. Keys are earned with preparation and patience. Most people arrive with persuasion and panic. They leave with neither. The myth says kindness and boundaries are rivals. The truth says boundaries are how kindness survives. Contact with need. Be warm in manner, cold in promise. Say less than you love. Deliver more than you said. Never let compassion be commandeered by incompetence. You do not need to harm anyone to become unplayable. You simply stop feeding the game. You become the emotional watermark by which all others are judged and found wanting. They feel small around you because your standards expose their excuses. You are not their mirror anymore. You are their contrast. They can adapt or they can depart. Either outcome is peace, either outcome is order. When they say you've changed, they mean their old levers broke. When they say you're distant, they mean you have range. When they say you're unapproachable, they mean you are no longer interruptible. Let the accusations pile like leaves. You will be busy building winter. Guard the mornings. Gate your notifications. Audit weekly. Who drained? Who disciplined? What repeats? Cut corrosion double what compounds scarcity days invisible on purpose. You let the world forget you so you remember yourself. Quiet is not emptiness. Quiet is power underground. You stop reacting to everything you could answer. You let sentences die at your feet. You decline the invitation to be their emotional translator. You speak one language now, alignment. Anything out of tune fades from your frequency. Rhythm dictates reality. You own your breath like a crown. Power is a pace. A crown is a calendar. A throne is a threshold. You keep your eye contact 2 seconds longer than comfort. Then you look past them, as if measuring a horizon. Message received. I see you and I see beyond you. The performance slows. The truth arrives. You decide. Make your value expensive by design and generous by choice. Price in patience, in proof, in pattern. Remove discounts. Eliminate rush fees. Excellence isn't urgent. It is inevitable when the process is honored. The hurried always call the thorough arrogant. The thorough always outlast the hurried. If they must have you, let them climb. You don't lower the throne, you teach them to rise. Most will not. Let them go without ceremony. Those who do will never forget what your gates required. Their gratitude will be quiet. Consistent adult, that is the only kind you accept. Do not rescue confessions with solutions. Ask what are your options. Watch who grows. Watch who performs pain to rent your strength. Growth is love. Enabling is ego in a mask. The friend who only calls with emergencies is a collector of your calm. You pay them with delay until they pay you with planning. When manipulation loses its teeth, respect grows its spine. People learn quickly that dramatics don't open your doors. Preparation does. Patience does. Proof does. The room learns your rhythm or empties itself trying. Both are mercies. Both are wins. You don't threaten. You design. You don't beg. You select. You don't warn. You vanish. Absent. You become the lesson. Present. You are the standard. Either way, the kingdom is protected. The mission remains intact. Your state is your mind. Guard the borders. You are not a character in their story. You are the editor. You cut scenes that waste time and arcs that fake growth. You cut subplots that flatter the wrong gods. You are ruthless with repetition. You forgive, and then you format. You love, and then you limit. You do not live to be understood. You live to be aligned. You do not live to be accessible. You live to be exact. You do not live to be admired. You live to be irreplaceable to your mission. The ones who matter will translate. The others will complain. Both are data. Outplay them before they even speak by mastering entrances and exits. Enter like time belongs to you. Exit without prophecy. No eulogies for access revoked. No final monologues, just the clean punctuation of a closed door. Silence travels farther than speeches ever do. They wanted the version of you designed to survive. You retired it. You built the version that knows how to rule. Calm, exact, detached, generous, selective, immovable. You carry peace like gravity. People stop performing when gravity enters the room. Reality begins. Deals become clear. Costs get counted. Games end. Everyone wants something from you. Good. Let them want. Wanting is human. Access is earned. The exchange is simple now. Truth for time, proof for proximity, pattern for trust. Anything less meets the gate and stays outside. Your life is a citadel. Your standards are the stone. If they present a crisis, you present a cadence. If they present a compliment, you present a criterion. If they present a choice that traps you, you redraw the board. You are not a piece. You are the architect. You don't roll dice. You write rules. You do not need them to understand the rules. You require them to live by them. The accusations will fade. The results will not. The stories they tell about your distance will age into explanations for their own delays. Meanwhile, your orbit compacts into a circle of grown adults who can carry weight without turning it into theatre. This is the rare air. This is the point. One day, someone will try the old levers: guilt, speed, silence, praise, and nothing will move. They will see it in your eyes. Quiet law. You do not punish. You proceed. You do not argue. You act. You do not threaten. You choose. Power without noise. Mercy without leash. Love without loss of self. You have become unplayable, not because you hid your heart, but because you weaponized it against your own weakness. You replaced hunger with standards. You replaced panic with pace. You replaced performing with presence. You replaced approval with alignment. The game continues without you. The board is quieter now. The crown fits. Outplay them before they speak by making silence expensive. You do not rush to fill the air. You let the air measure them. The unprepared confess to the quiet. The overconfident bargain with charm. The manipulative escalate to pressure. You remain at cruising speed. Rhythm dictates reality. Yours is steady like law. The first 5 minutes decide most losses. Accepting their frame loses. Accepting their urgency loses. Accepting their flattery loses. You walk in with your own clock and your own language. You ask what decision is being made, what constraints are present, what done looks like. Mirage melts when definition enters. You never confuse emotional theatre with moral truth. Tears can be honest and still not be reasons. Anger can be understandable and still not be policy. You do not harden. You sort. You do not mock pain. You refuse to be moved by it without plan. Compassion without clarity collapses into chaos. Build rituals that anchor your sovereignty. Write before you respond. Breathe before you decide. Sleep before you sign. Reread before you send. Small delays turn many traps into dust. Predators prey on pace. You make haste their hunger and patience your gate. Make a list of your non-negotiables. Time in the morning that belongs to you. Work that is measured by standards, not moods. People who can hear no without punishing you for clarity. Places where your name earns quiet, not noise. Guard these like a treasury. When they market scarcity, you market sequence. They pitch expiration. You propose process. They sell urgency. You demand criteria. Most storms die when they cannot wrench your nervous system. Most cons die when they cannot borrow your calendar. Choose difficult clarity over comfortable confusion. Clarity ends bad stories early. Clarity makes friends fewer and better. Clarity turns meetings into decisions, relationships into exchanges, and days into results. Confusion keeps you busy. Clarity keeps you sovereign. Refuse the debt of gratitude that demands obedience. Gratitude for real help is noble. Servitude for symbolic help is slavery. You thank with truth, not with leash. You honor the past without mortgaging the future. Respect is seed. Control is a chain. Do not be seduced by access to rooms that do not respect your mission. A larger audience is a louder distraction if the room wants spectacle instead of substance. You take the small table where decisions are made over the large stage where attention is fed. Kings eat in quiet. The cruel will call your boundaries violence, too, because they can no longer raid your softness. The weak will call your stillness apathy, because you do not volunteer your nervous system for their unfinished work. The needy will call your standards arrogance, because standards make them honest. Let them rename your discipline. You will keep your throne. You answer projection with precision. When they say you never help, you list every structure you built. When they say you always say no, you list the terms you accept. When they say you think you are better, you repeat, you prefer better systems. Precision does not argue. Precision accounts. Never outsource your self-respect to applause. Crowds bless what entertains them. Councils bless what strengthens you. Pick councils. Applause will demand a sequel. Councils will demand a plan. Practice the audit of language. Remove just, sorry, and maybe from offers that are already fair. Replace I hope this works with, here is how this works. Replace is that okay with, does that meet the requirement? Words are gates. Choose thick wood, not thin curtains. When envy arrives in whispers, you answer with distance. You do not persuade the jealous. You remove your image from their altar. You do not feed comparison with access. You let time do its quiet surgery. The insecure will either grow or leave. Either is clean. Do not prove what does not need proving. Your worth is not the topic. The work is the topic. The standard is the topic. The timeline is the topic. The moment the conversation shifts to your temperature, the negotiation has ended. You do not discuss your weather with people who benefit from your storm. Train your team and your circle to love boredom. Boredom is the bridge between vision and reality. The exciting part ends when the plan begins. Those who despise repetition will sabotage you with novelty. Excellence is rehearsal with feedback, not fireworks on demand. Refuse the busy work that dresses like loyalty. Loyalty is alignment with the mission, not endless attendance. A seat filled by a body is not the same as a role filled by a standard. You pay in trust for what compounds. You pay in silence for what corrodes. Do not let compliments become contracts. A sentence about your genius is not a signature. Convert praise into requirements, or convert praise into vapor. The flattering will flee the moment the invoice appears. Good. Let them save you the trouble. Power is maintained in the boring moments. You send a follow-up. You write the minutes. You archive the receipts. You name the decisions. You calendar the next check. Royalty is routine that looks like stone from the outside and discipline from the inside. You will be accused of calculation. To wear it, calculation is simply care extended across time. You care enough to think beyond today. You care enough to protect next month. You care enough to prevent next year's apology. Calculation is compassion with a spine. You do not hire the loud, you hire the stable. Loud fails quietly. Stable fails loudly and early, where recovery is possible. Stability is a strategy. Stability turns velocity into victory instead of into wreckage. If you must explain, do it once and write it down. Repetition without documentation is theater. Documentation without consequence is decoration. Make written clarity your castle, then protect the gates with consequence. Refuse to be the most responsible person in rooms that will not grow. Your presence will become a crutch for their refusal. When you leave, they will call you selfish. When you stay, you will call yourself exhausted. Choose the name you can live with. You are allowed to be precise with your joy. Share it with the ones who do not make you translate. Protect it from the ones who take celebration as permission to enter. Joy without gates invites thieves. Let your goals upgrade your friends. Let your standards upgrade your schedule. Let your calendar upgrade your character. If a goal does not require better company, it was a wish. If a standard does not require better time, it was a mood. The world will offer you 10 cheap highs for the price of one deep peace. You choose the peace. You choose the slow build. You choose the quiet win that does not need announcement. Speed seduces. Peace sustains. When somebody says, trust me, you say, show me. When somebody says, I'll try, you say, by when. When somebody says, it's complicated, you say, then break it small. Simplicity is not naive. It is ruthless. You are no one's emergency exit. You are no one's permanent audience. You are no one's unending apology. Your life is a limited resource by design. Scarcity makes you valuable. Scarcity makes you clear. Do not retaliate with spectacle. Withdraw with standards. Spectacle feeds the story they want to tell. Standards write the history you can live with. Walk away like a verdict. Keep a list of the sentences that saved you. That doesn't work for me. Email me the specifics. I'll decide after I see the plan. Not now. That's outside my scope. What exactly do you want from me? You do not raise your voice. You raise your criteria. You do not need to be feared. You need to be forecast. People should be able to predict your no and still respect you enough to return with a better ask. Principle makes you readable. Preferences make you erratic. Be a climate, not a mood. The competent will feel seen by your standards. The incompetent will feel attacked by them. Your job is not to make incompetence comfortable. Your job is to make the mission possible. You end gossip by refusing to inquire further. You end manipulation by refusing to react. You end chaos by refusing to participate. Most fires die when the oxygen of your attention disappears. Let reputation be a side effect of discipline, not a substitute for it. What they say must be the shadow cast by what you do. Shadows are honest. When the light is strong, you are allowed to disappoint people who expect you to betray yourself. Disappointment is not a debt. Disappointment is not a doctrine. Disappointment is a feeling, and feelings are not orders. Teach people how to meet you. Send the outline. Show up on time. Do the first step without me. Follow the naming convention. Close the loop. Those who refuse these tiny dignities will not respect the larger ones. Choose clean endings over messy maintenance. A short grief is mercy compared to a long erosion. Your future deserves a clean floor, not a museum of unfinished good intentions. You cannot be bought with applause because you already paid with discipline. You cannot be seduced by panic because you already knew storms were coming. You cannot be controlled by guilt because you replaced approval with alignment. If respect costs you your peace, it was not respect. If love costs you your mission, it was not love. If success costs you your soul, it was not success. Renaming is how the world steals. You keep your definitions. Do not chase the ones who misunderstand you on purpose. They are invested in their version of you. Let them own it without your participation. Your clarity is not a debate stage. Your detachment is not a wall. It is a window that faces your future. Those who can stand in that light will stay. Those who need the old shadows will leave. Bless both. You are not ice. You are marble, cold to the touch, only because you can hold form under heat. Pressure reveals sculpture. Noise reveals nothing. Stop trying to be the exception in rooms that violate your rules. Be the rule in rooms that honor your exceptions. The right room is not perfect. It is precise. When you forget who you are, you say yes too fast. When you remember, your no becomes gentle and final. Memory is armor. Memory is leverage. Remember what it costs to learn your standards. Nothing haunts manipulators like a closed door that does not reopen. They rehearse speeches you will never hear. They practice tears you will never see. Your absence is fluent in their language. Let your metrics protect your heart. Track time, track delivery, track promises kept. Numbers do not replace love. Numbers protect it from erosion. People will beg for your blueprint and then be angry when it requires bricks. They wanted elevation without weight. You are not a balloon. You are architecture. Small civilities stabilize empires. Return messages you intend to decline. Close loops you started. Pay debts before they harden into identity. Nobility is logistics wearing manners. Life is not a courtroom where you must convince a jury of strangers. Life is an office where you sign your own memos, issue clean directives and file them with action. On the days you are tempted to prove yourself, do one precise task that moves the mission forward. Proof is the byproduct of progress. You do not argue on stage, you ship from the back room. Your future self is a sovereign you serve today. Write them checks with your habits. Pay them with sleep, with reading, with strength, with systems. They have wars to win because you are wise. When the wrong people leave, the right opportunities arrive on time, calendars clear, air sharpens, the signal emerges from under the static. Loss is sometimes the messenger of alignment. Refuse to be impressive at the cost of being effective. Impressive posts, effective builds. Impressive announces, effective delivers. Choose the verb that survives inspection. Standards decide outcomes. Deliver.